Could we see Antonio Brown back in the NFL? I don't even sound realistic saying it out loud, but we will talk about it after the bumper. What is up, everybody? My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, Antonio Brown has been the talk of the NFL for the last couple of days, ever since his outburst in New York as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was playing in the third quarter against the Jets. He stormed off the field, had this big temper tantrum is what I called it, but you know, it is what it is. And I went on broadcast, I went on live, and I talked to you guys, and I was like, hey, I think that probably is the last time we'll see Antonio Brown in an NFL uniform. And I still pretty much feel this way, but there's been some developments that have come out since that temper tantrum that may or may not swing you in a certain way. I don't know. Let's talk about it. So, like I said, I came on wax and I told you guys, I was like, I think that was the last time we saw Antonio Brown. And that is a time I think he might have really hampered his Hall of Fame chances. Because as we know, the Hall of Fame takes like your personality into account because it's voted on by real people, sports writers or whatever. And they take into account your personality. That's why Terrell Owens had to wait so long. Terrell Owens, one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of the NFL, had all the numbers. All his numbers are top 3, top 5 in everything. Catches, touchdowns, receiving yards, games played, etc., etc. And he had to wait 3 tries before he got in the Hall of Fame. And so Antonio Brown, who is just as talented and has just as great a numbers or really great numbers like Terrell Owens, has these off the field or even on the field issues. And so that's why I thought it hampered his chances of getting the Hall of Fame. But this tweet by Miss Josina Anderson. Now, Josina Anderson is a well respected journalist that covers the NFL. She worked for ESPN for a long time. Now she does her own thing. She has her own podcast and stuff, and she does some really great work. But this tweet was put out by Miss Josina today. It says, if Antonio Brown wants a job on another team in the NFL, he can have one. That's not an opinion. That is what I know. Now, Miss Josina Anderson, like I said, ain't one to just put out blasphemy statements, just statements to get clicks or retweets or quote tweets or whatever. She is someone who's well respected. She is someone who's well connected. She is someone that knows what she is talking about. And there's a lot of speculation about what teams she could be talking about. Or is she just lying? Now, one thing is true for damn sure. I don't believe Miss Josina Anderson's lying. I refuse to believe that. I honestly think that she is well sourced on this information. So that lets me know that there is somebody, some team, and a GM, and an owner, and probably some people in the locker room, or that'll either already agree into it or take some convincing, that believe Antonio Brown can benefit their team in a championship hunt. Because the only team that would be able to take in Antonio Brown, and it makes sense, well, I don't know if it even makes sense, but it would make the most sense, is a team fighting for a championship. And so those teams that come to mind are like the Kansas City Chiefs, strong locker room, been to the Super Bowl the last 2 years, AFC Championship game the last 3 years. Have an established quarterback that'll be there for the long term. Have an established head coach that'll be there for the long term. Have an established veteran-led locker room with Travis Kelce and Tyrann Mathieu and, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. And it's a team that has brought in controversial players before. Tyreek Hill is somewhat controversial, both from his college and from the dealings with his children. Controversial. Brought in Josh Gordon. Controversial. We know the record and the rap sheet or whatever that Josh Gordon has had. And then even Andy Reid and his family is somewhat controversial. His son being, having, allegedly the drunk driving incident that he got in a car wreck. So they've dealt with controversy and has come out on the other side unscathed. They've dealt with the controversy and have come out on the other side in the Super Bowl. They've dealt with controversy and have come out on the other side without a flaw, flawless. Hell, even Patrick Mahomes' family, his brother Jackson Mahomes, somewhat controversy. And or his fiance, somewhat controversial. And they've been able to do it. So the Chiefs is a team that I believe, if Miss Josina, her reporting is correct, is a team that might be taking a flyer on Antonio Brown. Another team that I could see taking a flyer on Antonio Brown is the LA Rams. The Rams have shown that they're willing to do any and everything to win a championship. They've made nothing. They have shied away from nothing, that they are all systems go, all in, pushing all the chips in to win an NFL championship, to win a Super Bowl. They're pushing all of it in. They traded for Odell Beckham. They traded for Matthew Stafford. They traded for Von Miller. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They got rid of Jared Goff, a number 1 overall pick. Like, they're all in. They are literally all in. They let players walk in free agency. And it's gotten them to this point where they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I think the Rams have the second best record in the NFC, only behind the Packers. So that is another locker room got veteran leadership, veteran locker room. Matthew Stafford's been in this league over a decade. Jalen Ramsey is very boisterous. And now the Rams sending Von Miller, been in this league over a decade, leader, Hall of Famer. And bringing in a guy like Antonio Brown could bolster their roster headed towards the playoffs. Heading into the playoffs. Headed towards a chance at a world championship, at a Super Bowl. So Miss Josina Anderson isn't just making this up. Now, you may say, Jeff, nobody in the NFL was more equipped to deal with Antonio Brown than whatever team Tom Brady's on, and hell, even they couldn't do it. And to that, I say you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The foundation was there in Tampa. Antonio Brown pretty much kept his nose clean all season last year. And they won a Super Bowl, and he was a contributing factor. He got a touchdown in the Super Bowl. But this year, it kind of got derailed. He had an injury, and then he had the COVID nonsense, fake vaccine card. And then he had this. Now, what I will say is, and to AB's defense, now, once again, I told you his behavior, I've said it plenty of times, his behavior was childlike. I didn't like it. You know, it is what it is. There's other ways to handle the situation. But I will say this. Bruce Arians is a jerk. Bruce Arians never wanted Antonio Brown. It was never part of his plan to have Antonio Brown on his team. Bruce Arians coached Antonio Brown when he was in Pittsburgh. Bruce Arians knew who Antonio Brown was in his prime, like when he was his very best, and knew how much of a jerk he was. How much of a disruption that he could be. And Bruce Arians was adamant about not bringing in Antonio Brown. But Bruce Arians' quarterback was Tom Brady. And Tom Brady wanted AB because Tom Brady knew and knows how good AB is as a player. And Tom Brady felt that he could keep AB in line. And for the most part, he did. He did a better job than the Raiders. And nobody can do what Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers did. And we've come to find that out. To keep him under wraps, I saw a tweet. Somebody put Mike Tomlin's greatest coaching performance isn't the fact that he's went 15 years without a losing season. It's the fact that for 9 years, almost a decade, he kept Antonio Brown under wraps. In the last few years, he had some outbursts, but for the most part, for 9 years, he kept him pretty contained. For the Raiders, he didn't even make it onto the field. And for the Bucs, it lasted less than 2 years. So for 9 years to do what the Steelers were able to do with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and Ben Roethlisberger. We ain't going to sleep on Big Ben. And you know what I'm saying? We know what he did with the women. Even though they told him no, he still proceeded to do whatever he wanted to do. So let's not, I get it. He's retiring and all that, but we ain't going to forget about that. We ain't going to forget about that. So, yeah. So this is an interesting tweet, an interesting take from a very, very well-respected, very sourced, highly sourced reporter, and Miss Josina Anderson, that says if Antonio Brown wants a job on another team in the NFL, he can have one. That is not an opinion. That is what I know. Miss Josina just don't make stories up. She's well sourced. She's, you know what I'm saying? She knows what she's talking about. So, who are the teams that you believe that would take a flyer on Antonio Brown? I threw out the Rams, I threw out the Chiefs, and I gave you my reasons. I'm surprised this is even a conversation too, but it is a conversation. And I do want to let you guys know, this was sent to me as well, and it's very interesting. Antonio Brown, as of right now, hasn't actually been cut from the Bucs yet. So this is a story. This was put out by Fox News, and it's been picked up by a few different people. And it says Antonio Brown still with the Bucs despite assertions to the contrary. Now this is interesting because, like I said, you know, Bruce Arians let it be known Antonio Brown. Now I do think this is just a formality. This is just, you know, contract stuff. But it says Antonio Brown is still in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as of Monday night, despite Coach Bruce Arians telling reporters after the receiver's meltdown that he's no longer a Buc. Arians was asked earlier Monday during the media availability about the logistics of cutting Brown, and he appeared to pass the buck to the front office, which is what he should do. Quote, that's up to the general manager and what he wants to do. Arians said when he asked about the Buccaneers, how the Buccaneers will move on. According to ESPN, the Buccaneers were talking to the NFL about how to move forward with Brown's situation. The wide receiver is sure to face some kind of discipline from the NFL due to the outburst and leaving the stadium in the middle of a game against the New York Jets. The Buccaneers still had Brown on the official roster. Pro Football Talks' Mike Florio suggested on Sunday's NBC Football Tonight that a desperate enough team trying to win the Super Bowl this season could find themselves with an opportunity to sign Brown, even given how bad the chaotic scenes looked. Quote, the organization is very concerned about his mental health. That's the short-term focal point. But if they do move forward in releasing him, if he passes through waivers, and if he's not claimed by another team, he becomes a free agent. Quote, and it's easy to say based on what we saw, it's over, it's done. No one else is going to give him another chance. But talent always finds a way. And there are teams out there that are trying to win playoff games and pursue Super Bowl championships. And he helped the Bucs get one last year. So if whatever happened can be explained and it settles down, you can't rule out another team possibly taking a chance on Antonio Brown at some point over the balance of the season. Also, you guys have to remember, and the reason, and this goes back to the point where AB might play in the NFL again. If it comes out that Bruce Arians really literally cut this man during the middle of the third quarter because he said he didn't want to go back to the game because he said he was hurt, Bruce Arians is the real villain. And I said that in another video. Bruce Arians really is the real villain. AB is he's not going to be excused for his theatrics and the way he left. But someone may, especially players, may feel more inclined to side with AB. Just imagine you're in the middle of a damn game and you're hurt. You've played in the game, but you're like, yo, I'm still not 100%, which AB missed practice during the week. AB had missed weeks prior due to, obviously, the vaccine thing, but also injury. So, and he had played during the game. So it's like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm still not 100%. I'm not feeling well. Like, my ankle just ain't there. You know, it is what it is. I don't feel comfortable going back into the game. Now, the Bucs were trying to come back at the time. They were down 24-10 in the third quarter. They were trying to, like, stage a comeback. And so that probably is what pissed Bruce Arians and Brian Leftwich or whoever else off. But at the same time, Arians looks like a jerk because not only do you say, okay, you're done for the game or send him to the locker room, you tell him he's fired? You fired the guy there in the middle of the game? Yeah, that's going to piss off a lot of people. And people can relate to that. Relate to being pissed off because you're being fired on your day off. Or you've been fired for something you can't control, which is an injury. So that is going to look more human. Another reason why AB may get another chance in the NFL, we just got to keep it a bean. We got to keep it 100. COVID is still out here. Players are still missing games and missing times of practice and all kinds of stuff because of COVID. And if COVID ravages one of these teams who think they have a chance to win a championship, whether it's Arizona, the Rams, the Chiefs, whoever, and one of their best receivers or a receiver on their team can't go, and AB is a free agent, might be worth that risk. If Tyreek Hill gets sick, he can't go in the playoffs, or Odell Beckham or Cooper Kupp can't go in the playoffs for the Rams, and AB is out there. Or you know what I'm saying, DeAndre Hopkins can't come back for the playoffs, and AB's out there. You don't think these teams are going to take a flyer on AB? I think they will, man. Especially if it comes out Bruce Arians literally cut the man there in the middle of the third quarter. AB probably will get another shot. Leave your thoughts in the chat. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. at the Black Boss Channel, theblackbosschannel.com. You can subscribe to our channel right there. Also, mine, Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube right there. You can subscribe to my channel. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That's Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Peace.